What's going on, everyone? Today we're going to be taking a look at how to change the oil on your 2.7 liter ecoboost F-150. This is my first DIY oil change, and I decided to make a video of it for y'all so that y'all can see how it's done and things like that. We went with absolute dirt cheap Walmart oil. I'm sure I'm going to get some hate comments in the comment section, but that's alright. We're going to see how this oil performs and stuff like that over the next 5,000 miles. As y'all can see there, I wanted to showcase for y'all what the current mileage on my truck is, right at about 90,000 miles. So we're going to get this oil changed, and we're going to get it all nice and done. This is my first ever DIY, so I'm excited to do it, obviously. So as you can see there, we're working with our SuperTech Walmart oil. It's the, I think, high mileage oil, full synthetic, all that good stuff. I think it was like maybe like 25 bucks. There's our oil filter wrench, if you will. Obviously the oil filter is a little different on the 2.7 liter. You got your gaskets there and you got your filter there. Alright, now that looks a lot different than filters that I've seen on most American cars. That's because Ford, for whatever reason, decided on the 2.7 liter EcoBoost that they were going to use a different type of filter. I've heard that's the filter that they use on European automobiles, but I don't really know that for a fact. But yeah, so we're going to go ahead and get this hood popped, and we're going to take a look at what we're working with. As y'all can see here, this video is not professional whatsoever. I'm recording with one hand. I'm trying to do it all with the other hand. So it took me quite a bit longer. I think this video is going to end up about 18 minutes long, but you could probably get this done real quick, if I'm being honest. The only real waiting time is just waiting for all the oil to drain. So what I did here is I pulled the oil dipstick and I popped the cap off of the fill area, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, so I popped that cap, I pulled the dipstick so that the air can flow through real nice, and we're going to go ahead and go underneath and take a look at our plug. But there's the filter, as you can see, very different from most American automobiles, but it is what it is. Sometimes you just got to work with what Ford gives you. So yeah, we're going to go back around the vehicle, and we're going to go up underneath the truck, and I'm going to showcase for y'all where exactly the oil drains out at. So as you can see there, I got my gloves on, I got my oil drain pan, all that good stuff. The drain pan was definitely not big enough, but it is what it is, and it worked itself out. So here's a pro tip for y'all with lifted trucks. If y'all have a 6-inch lift with 37-inch tires, that thing is going to sit real high off the ground. Well, the thing about that is that oil is going to be falling a lot further, causing, you guessed it, splashage. So just watch me try and attempt to do this. Essentially, you'll see what I end up having to do, but that bar right there is real annoying. It just is in the way of the flow, and if I did just let it go, it would literally splash way more than what I did end up splashing. But I'll just show y'all what I had to do, essentially. So, and bear with me here. I'm doing this one-handed, recording with one hand, and changing the oil with the other. So we take that drain plug out. And you can already start to hear it a little bit dripping out. I'm trying to be as careful as possible. I definitely don't want that stuff ending up all over the driveway. That'd be a great big mess. But as you can see, that oil is really coming, and you can even see the back of my head. Because, like I said, not a professional videographer or anything. But anyways, we're doing our best to get this done so I can showcase it. So I had to readjust a little bit. Ultimately, what I ended up figuring out was a neat little trick for those of y'all who have lifted trucks, but really probably anybody could benefit from it. I probably also should get a better oil pan or an oil drain pan. Leave a comment in the section down below if you know of or what your solution is. I'm thinking maybe just a big Home Depot bucket might even suffice, because then the splashes just goes all over the walls rather than all over the driveway. But yeah, we just kind of sit here and think about it for a second. And what we decide is, we decide to get ourselves a big old cinder block and put that thing underneath. So that way at least the bucket's a little bit higher. And as you can see, I already drained out a good amount of the oil, but I mean, it's real difficult to manage. So essentially what I end up doing is just emptying out the majority of it with my hand, holding the plug halfway in so it doesn't just literally go everywhere. Because I know for a fact once it hits that bar, it's really just going to start splashing. Anyways, we got to a good flow. We got to almost empty. At this point, we're just kind of sitting back and waiting for it to fully drain out. There you can see, there is the plug. It's got a little gasket on it. I didn't get a replacement plug, but I probably will order one or two just in case in the future, but I didn't really see a need to, being this was my first time doing it. So I figured the plug might last another oil change. I change my oil every 5,000 miles and not every 10,000 like the manual says. So there we go. All right, and as you can see here, here is where we start to take that oil filter off. So you need a 27 millimeter socket, essentially, and the wrench to go along with it. So I got mine from Harbor Freight. I think it was like 15 bucks plus tax or something. Pretty dirt cheap wrench and socket, but it's just for me. It's not any kind of business use, so it does the job. But yeah, 27 millimeter is what you need, and you just got to kind of twist that thing right off. And I apologize for whoever was mowing their lawn in the background. Somebody in the neighborhood was. You basically hear that throughout the whole video. But anyways, we'll get this oil filter off for y'all, and I'll show y'all how it all works. So basically at this point, you can just hand twist it out. It's not too big of an issue. It's not too big of a deal. And what's interesting about this is the filter actually stays behind inside the engine, as you can see there. Now, I will pull it out, but as you can see, there's what it sits in, right, that I pulled away. And I'm going to show that to y'all. As you can see there, I go sit it over there on some used up gloves. Boy, did I use so many gloves today. It's unreal. But anyways, so there's our oil filter cartridge thingamajig. And that is what it sits in. So there's the oil filter. I don't know if you can see the steam coming off that thing. I let the engine warm up about 5 minutes or something, but man, that oil was warm. Very, very warm. So it was nice and flowing. But anyways, we pulled the filter out, and I'll show y'all what I replaced it with. So there's the old engine oil filter. Put it on the glove so as to not make too big of a mess. And here's what you're working with. Alright, you got these two large gaskets and that one little tiny one at the top you got to work with. Now the two bottom ones are easy as pie to put on and take off, but that top one is going to be a bear, so be mindful of that. Ultimately, just working at it for a little while, I was able to get it back on, but it is a pain. But that's what you got to do. You got to put the filter into the cartridge just like that. Switch out those rubber gaskets and then put that thing right back into where you found it. As you can see here, it's pretty simple to just plop back on in there. And you want to adjust it a little bit because it can go in a little wonky, so you want to make sure you're nice and straight down in there. And you can put on a little bit of a twist. And once you do that, you're able to just take your 27 millimeter socket wrench, deep well, and wrench that thing right back on in there. Again, doing this one-handed videography is something else, I tell you what. Tried my best to showcase each and every step, but, you know, it is what it is. It's not going to be a perfect video. But as you can see there, you just socket it on down. And once it's nice and tight, I did it just until I just couldn't do it anymore. You definitely don't want to over-tighten it or just break it. You definitely just want to make sure it's nice and just right snug to where it just stops, right? No need to make it extremely overly tight. I'm sure there's some pound-feet of torque it's supposed to be at, but I'm not too concerned about it. I mean, as long as it's on there nice and good, should be all right. Now, as you can see there, I've got my old drain pan underneath the truck, and we got to figure out what we're going to do about this. So I got to put the oil plug back in. I'm checking it right now and seeing that it's just a very slow drip, ever so slightly. There's a couple drops left, not too big of a deal, so we're pretty much good to go. And I gave it another minute or two, but it's just dripping and dropping very slowly. Nothing wrong with a couple extra drops left in the engine. We take our old drain plug there, we put it back in there. You want to make sure it fits just right and it turns and should lock into place. You should be able to feel that it's locked into place and it's not going to move. It's very simple. One of the easiest things ever to do is just to kind of make sure it's nice and snug and locked in there, and you're good to go. Now, this is the part where we get to actually filling up the engine with the new Walmart SuperTech oil. So I got my filter there, and pro tip, don't cheap out and buy the tiny filter. Just go ahead and spend the extra buck or two and buy the big filter, because that tiny filter is a big pain in the butt, and it takes just a little bit longer, but it's still just frustrating because you got to pour and then wait and then pour and then wait. But anyways, we took our fill cap off. We stuff our filter in there as best as we can. It also didn't really want to go in because, again, it wasn't necessarily made for that. It's more just a random filter, or a funnel, if you will. So we go ahead and pop our oil cap off. And I know I'm going to get judged for this, but I just pop that thing open and rip it out as much best as I can. I'm not too worried about it. Maybe I should be, and maybe I'll get comments on it, but it is what it is. And man, that lawnmower in the background is really something else. I tell you what, I do apologize about that. But I wanted y'all to just kind of hear the noises and stuff so that, you know, you can kind of realize it's a more realistic video. So at this point, I'm realizing that I just spilled my oil on the front of my truck a little bit, so that was kind of frustrating. But anyways, I checked it out. It was just a little drop, no big deal, and we get ourselves to pouring. So as you can see there, it's a tiny little dinky filter or funnel, and it's just not really pouring too much. But it fills up real quick, right? So you got to wait till it drains and then fill, and then wait till it drains and then fill. It's the most frustrating thing in the world. So again, if you're buying the funnel, just buy the big boy funnel. It's not that much more. It's like $1. Definitely worth it overall. And at this point, we're getting near the end. I mean, it's real difficult to be up here standing. I'm essentially standing on my offset wheel and tire, pouring this in and recording this video just for y'all. So just bear with me for a moment. Again, I'm not a professional. I appreciate you if you've made it this far in the video. I'd assume most people haven't, but it is what it is. We're just having a good old time making videos and changing oil, doing daily stuff on the truck. But yep, as you can see there, we're pretty much empty on our oil. We're just going to go ahead and tap it on out just to get every little last drop, especially since we spilled a splash on the front. So yeah, we'll go ahead and get every drop we can out of that thing, and we'll just keep it rolling. Also, my breathing in the background is really something else, I'll tell you what. Anyways, we got that thing all emptied out. Just tapping, 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 and we're good to go. You can hear that it's completely empty, and we'll move on to our 6 quart, because unfortunately our truck takes 6 quarts, so we needed the 5 quart package, and then the last quart, we just go ahead and pour it on in. Alright, that was easy enough. Let me go ahead and tap it on out. Just to make sure we got it on. And we're good to go. And at this point, I go ahead and decide that I'm going to make sure that old dipstick is put back in. I go ahead and take out my filter, or my funnel. I keep calling it a filter, I don't know why, but I take out my funnel, and I put my old drink fill cap back on. I mean, this is as real as it gets, guys. I tell you what, there's my old fill cap. And you got to make sure that that goes on correctly, otherwise it could fall off or leak or whatever, but it's pretty easy once you can kind of feel it kind of snap into place, and you're good to go. So now we go ahead and cut the engine on, and we let it run for like maybe a minute or two. We check the gauges as it begins to warm up, and everything seems to be rocking and rolling pretty well. Alright, and just pro tip, you can just go ahead and back the truck on up. You don't actually have to slide that bucket underneath. At this point, I was thinking, alright, we are almost free and clear. I thought for sure that that oil would just pour down that little dip in the pan, but unfortunately, I mean, this was the last moment that my driveway was perfect, and there you go. There's the mess for all of y'all. Go ahead and judge me as much as you'd like, but obviously we made a big old mess, and we're going to have to get that old stain out of the driveway somehow, some way. So if you got any tips on that, let me know in the comment section down below. But with all that being said, I appreciate y'all for watching the video. Go ahead and laugh as much as you'd like at the end of this video. Obviously, this was my first time ever DIYing my own oil in my pickup truck at 90,000 miles. I've never done my own, but now I have, and I can say I've done it. So, yeah, that is what it is. But thanks, y'all, and we'll see you in the next one.